Hi, everyone. Somebody emailed me and pointed out that there was a couple of mistakes made in the video for page 385, which is lesson 3 on adding and subtracting rationals. And the mistakes were made in class example both 2A and B. So what I'm going to do in this video is just redo these two class examples so that you could see how they would be solved. So for class example A, look at the numbers 4, 5, and 10. And what you have to ask yourself is, what's the lowest common denominator between a 4, a 5, and a 10? So you're basically saying, what's the smallest number that all three of those will go into? The multiples of 4 are like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. The multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20. And the multiples of 10 are 10 and 20. So the lowest common denominator is actually 20. So what we need to do is we need to rewrite each fraction with the denominator of 20. So you have to ask yourself, what would you multiply 4 by to get 20? And that answer is 5. So we're going to multiply both numerator and denominator by 5. And if you multiply the numerator by 5, 5 times x is 15. Then go over to 5 and say, what would you multiply that by? 20. And you would multiply 5 by 4. So I'm going to multiply both numerator and denominator by 4. And I would 4x here. Then say to yourself, what would you multiply 10 by 20? That answer is 2. So multiply both numerator and denominator by 2. And 7x times 2 is 14. The nice thing about adding rationals is once you have common denominators, you write that denominator. So this is going to be 20. And then you simply add or subtract the numerators. So it would be 15x plus 4x, which is 19x's, minus 14x. And 19x minus 14x is 5x. And then what you want to do is you always want to look at this fraction, which is 5 over 20, and say to yourself, what can you reduce that by? So 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 24 times. So this solution is 1x over 4, or remember, we don't need to write that invisible 1, so I could just simply say x over 4. And that would be my final. Going over to B, again, we need to figure out what the lowest common denominator is. So say to yourself, between a 3 and a 6, what's the lowest common denominator? So the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and the multiples of 6 are 6, 12. So between these two numbers, the lowest common denominator is actually a 6. So what did you have to multiply? So let's write that down. 6 and 6. Then say to yourself, okay, what did you multiply 3 by to get 6? And that answer is 2. So if you multiply the denominator by 2, you must also multiply the numerator by 2. But here's the thing. If ever you have a binomial, so more than one term, you have to put that in a bracket. Okay? And then it would be 2 times this entire numerator, and that would be the distributive property. So that would give 2 times 3a is 6a, and 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, plus, let's go down to the second fraction. I never changed anything, right? I keep my denominator of 6, so that means my numerator is going to stay the same, and it's going to stay as 4a plus 5. Again, once you have common denominators, the majority of your work is done. You write those two denominators, and then you add or subtract the numerators. So in this case, it would be this numerator plus this numerator. So I'm going to write it like that. 6a minus 2 plus 4a plus 5. From here, we gather like terms. So my like terms would be an A and an A. So 4A and 6A gives me 10 A's. And then -2 plus 5. Those are my other like terms. The numbers by themselves are constants. So -2 plus 5 is +3. And that's all over 6. And what I would do at the very end here, so 10A plus 3 over 6, is I would look at the 10, the 3, and the 6, and I would say, what's the biggest factor I could reduce this by? And the biggest factor that you could pull out of all three of these is a 1, right? So I wouldn't reduce this at all. Let's just say, I'll show you a different example. Let's say you got this as an answer, 10A plus 4 over 6. You could look at the 10, the 4, and the 6 and say, oh, I could pull a 2 out of all of this. Like I could reduce everything, divide everything by 2. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that answer would be 5A plus 2 over 3. Okay? But again, for 2B, there's nothing that can be pulled out of here except a 1. So I would keep that answer exactly as is.